So introduce yourself first.
All right, my name's Toto. I own Team Toto LLC, which is like a small-scale paint and auto body shop that does composites, fuel systems, and pretty much paint.
So Toto is kind of like my go-to paint guy and everything, and he's really been like one of the OGs. I mean, even since before I got into cars, I've seen these dope Civics and stuff. So what made you get started in the being in the car industry and doing car things?
Well, it pretty much started when I was in, I want to say like 8th grade, not even driving or anything, and then the street racing scene in Seattle was pretty big around that time. So what we used to do is I used to go to the street races in Seattle and Chinatown with my cousin because he had an Accord, and we all hopped in there. None of us drove, so we just all went out there and like checked it out. And I was like looking at all the quick cars, and I saw a lot of Civic hatchbacks and small things. And after that, I was kind of like, maybe I could do that. So after that, it kind of just started. Like I've always liked hatchbacks. Never been really a fan of coupes or stuff. So yeah, it all started with that, and then I think it was junior year when I finally got my Civic. I got a Civic hatchback 2000 DX, and the first thing we did with it was, obviously lower it on springs and stuff, and then we swapped the GSR motor in there. And back then, GSR motor is like, oh man, you're somewhat quick, but there's still always gonna be that bigger guy out there that'll like smoke you and stuff. So it's all started from there. B-swapped EK, started doing the mods and stuff, and I guess like early 2000s there's this everyone's heard of it. It's like the whole JDM movement, or the golden era if you want to call it. But then luckily for me, I lived through that and it was freaking awesome. So we had like crappy jobs in high school, and we'd save every paycheck and save money for the next mod and stuff. So it kind of snowballed from there. It was like around that time, maybe around 2002, 2003, that was like really the big time of like trying to find the rarest part that you could find, and it was like more like a thrill of the search. And I mean, nowadays it's kind of like a little bit harder to maybe stand out because everything's so drowned out and everything's readily available now. So yeah, from there it just kind of snowballed into more I guess bigger mods. It wasn't just like the bolt-ons, motor swaps, and suspension and like wheels and stuff. It finally got to the point where I wanted to do a color change. So that's kind of like how I got into painting. So it was around like 2004 I tore down the Civic, and back then it was still silver, had all the mods on it, and just decided like it'll be time to do something big. So stripped the car down, and my friend Tam, who I worked with at Honda at the time, he painted and stuff. So he got started on my car actually. So it wasn't actually me getting painting the car, it was my friend Tam. So he shot the car, like the interior and stuff, and then after that I was like watching how he did it, and I was thinking maybe this is something that I could do. So I asked him one day when we were like primering like the doors or something like that. Like I asked him to let me try. So from watching him, like I put the gun in my hand and started doing it, and I was like, whoa, this is actually pretty fun. It's kind of more common sense. You gotta have like steady technique and stuff like that. So from then on, I was just kind of like, this might be something fun to do. So I guess like as time progressed, Tam got busy, and I couldn't always rely on him to be at my parents' house while we were shooting the car to do the work. So I just kind of asked him, I was like, hey, how do you mix the paint? How do you do it? And then I guess I'll figure it out. So I ended up shooting that EK maybe like 2 or 3 times before it was actually what people know the car as Smokey. That was that dark gray Audi color, that real smoke color. So yeah, there was a lot of paint on the car, and that's how I got into painting. After that, it's more like muscle memory and just repetitive motion that you kind of get used to it, and from there it just gets easier. So After that, I got a couple buddies that also wanted to have their car sprayed, so I was like, what better thing to do to get better at painting is to paint like other people's cars and stuff. So I don't know if you guys are aware of Dennis Louis' DB8. He used to be white, and he had like JDM everything from like years ago, and then he wanted to do a color change, so I offered to spray his car, and we sprayed it red, and it came out really nice. It was featured in Super Street several years ago, a long time ago actually, but you know, it was like, that was kind of like the beginning. You know, you shoot someone's car and they're happy with it, and then from then on it's kind of like you do research and, you know, what could I do to make my work better, you know, because like I compare my work to like other shops around during the time that like put out incredible work, so I always wanted to be like them. So from then on, it was just kind of like, you know, other buddies that needed their cars painted, like my other friend Ty, he had a Civic hatchback that was also silver, and he wanted to do a color change, and I was like, hey dude, I'll do it. So yeah, that was about a 6-month job, painted the car inside and out. So, you know, like after doing like more and more cars, I got like more and more into painting and more into like doing a good job, I guess. Because, you know, I see work coming out of like other shops, and, you know, I kind of like see how much are people willing to pay to get like a certain type of job done. So that's how I kind of like gauge how much I charge people to do it, because, you know, we're still spraying in a garage. This is technically a garage that has a couple fans and stuff, but, you know, we're still able to produce show quality work. So yeah, that's pretty much about like, you know, like the whole painting thing. And then, you know, when it comes to like doing color changes, you're also doing like a pretty much a from the ground up build. So another thing that I do is fuel systems. I try to, I guess, design fuel systems that are like unique. I don't know if you guys are aware of like my crew Trick Speed. All of our cars that were swapped, we all run a certain type of dry brake for the fuel system, which are Jiffy Tights. If you look at all of our bays, we all have them. So I guess it's, you know, it's kind of like something different. Like not a lot of people were doing it, you know, like I just get ideas from my buddy down in SoCal, Super Twins. He's the one that kind of told me about them, and then I just took the idea and ran with it. So yeah, we try to like make our cars look a little more unique, you know, different type of styling compared to like, you know, what you typically see out there, which is like, I don't know, catalog cars if you want to call them. But yeah, we like to mix it up and do stuff. So it's pretty much what we started doing. And then yeah, it's just like custom paint, custom fuel systems. There's one thing I'm pretty proud about, like when I was building my EK and I had a stack meter. So back then everyone was rocking the CTR or Mugen clusters, spoon clusters, but then I decided to go with a stack meter. And then, you know, rather than having like a basic plate that is put into your bezel or whatever, I wanted to create something different. So with stack meters, usually people run like, you know, those LED lights or whatever, but then it doesn't have the symbol of what the warning light is. So what I did was I integrated a factory gauge cluster with all the warning lights, relocated some of the warning lights so they'll still work, and then put the stack meter in it. So, you know, it's just like certain things that, you know, I like to do differently, and, you know, hopefully like stands out from like the rest. So that's like kind of the stuff that I pride myself in when working on other people's cars, doing paint work. Like I want people to trust me with their projects, you know. I mean, it's pretty much like word of mouth or whatever. There's no like real advertising for paint, because, you know, it's like you can get whatever out there. So I just try to take care of people as much as possible. Alright, so I don't know if many of you guys know, but Cullen's car is wrapped in red. And I just want to let you know that paint is not dead. There's no substitution for paint. With car culture in the Pacific Northwest, I feel like it's kind of dead, kind of hit like a flat spot. I don't really participate much in like meets and shows anymore because obviously my car is not put together, and I kind of just try to stay away from it now because from what I see, like a lot of people nowadays are trying to like outdo one another. They're trying to like one up each other. Like, oh, hey, look at that Evo over there that has like the full Varus kit. Oh, I want to, you know, do this and shit on them, you know? And it's like, for me, like as you get older from like modding and stuff, hey, believe me, like back in the day, it used to be about that. It used to be like, hey, I got the rarest parts, you don't have it, I just shit on you, you know, like that stuff. But like as you get older, I guess you get a little more mature. It's kind of like you appreciate cars for what they are. It's almost like, you know, people would rather have like a stock Integra Type R that's just slammed with good suspension and like bolt-ons and not all the fancy stuff that, you know, we used to want to do. I guess that's just me. I mean, like, my car obviously is not going to be like that because I have a ton of crazy parts that I freaking collected through the years when we were still in that phase where we're like, oh, we're just going to do like insane stuff and just be like, whoa. I mean, for me, I just buy the stuff that I like. You know, I don't care if the next person has the same stuff as me. So like, you know, I don't know if you guys know, I have an Evo and I'm going to do the full Voltex kit on it. You know, there's a billion other Evos out there that have the Voltex kit, but, you know, it's like just something that I like. I've always wanted one, and I've always wanted to do the full cyber kit, and that's like pretty much inspiration for my EK2. Because what I do is I take like Evo parts for Voltex Evo parts and kind of hack them up to get them to work on my Civic. So I don't know if many of you are into cutting up $1,000 freaking Voltex parts to fit it on a shitbox Honda, but you know, maybe that's what separates me from like other people. Like I'm willing to take the extra step to cut stuff up and make it work, you know, because no one else is down to do it. So I'll do it, make it happen, and it is what it is at the end of the day. So yeah, as far as like the car scene, yeah, the whole like one-upping each other is kind of, I mean, it gets old. I don't know if people get tired of it or whatever, but you know, people just need to stick with like what they like. They don't necessarily need to worry about what the next car has, because I feel like that's what might kill the scene, you know? They're so worried about having all of like the same parts or whatever, but you know, there's also a difference. When you get the same parts, what can you do to make it different from that other car? Even though you're rocking the same parts, like what can you do to make it stand out? I think that's like the key to really getting things together and making it look different from other people. There's always a twist you can put on your mods to make them stand out. And I think, you know, like these younger kids, they need to realize that. They don't always have to do like cookie cutter stuff. It's not bad to like think outside the box and do something that maybe other people won't like. It's either like a love or hate, you know? So hopefully it gets better. Maybe I'll have something to show in the future. Alright, well that concludes my short story of how I got into painting and the history of like Smokey, Cyber EK, the real Cyber EK. And if you need anything painted, come find me.